Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, aka the guy who wants to Ezra Miller chokeslam whoever hired Joss Whedon. Just kidding, but not really. In the wake of Zack Snyder's commentary on Batman v Superman, people are once more crying out for Warner Brothers to release the Snyder Cut. And it's easy to see why too. Since 2017, we've learned a ton of information on the project, and it sounds like the film would have really been something special. Zack Snyder's Justice League was trending on Twitter earlier in the week, and even 3 years after the release of Justice League, interest certainly hasn't died down. But what was meant to happen in the film, and why are so many desperate to see it? Well, throughout this video we'll be going through the biggest differences between the Snyder Cut and the theatrical release. These include Henry Cavill's mustache, the role of Darkseid in the film, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, and a lot more. There will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to check out Justice League yet, then I highly recommend that you turn off now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for videos like this every day, and please drop a thumbs up if you enjoy it. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into our breakdown of the biggest Snyder Cut differences. Okay, so some of the biggest changes in the film centered around the villain, or rather villains of the piece. Lex Luthor returned in a greater role, which we'll get into in just a bit, but there were also much more distinctive changes in the forces of Apocalypse. Not only was Steppenwolf's design completely different in the final cut, but the big bad of the DC Universe, Darkseid, was also set to feature prominently in the film. The movie was meant to open with the invasion of Earth led by the character who would go head to head with Ares. This would tie Wonder Woman into Justice League, and it just fleshed out the universe a hell of a lot more. Instead, we got the opening credits, which felt pretty meh, especially when we know how well that Snyder does opening credits from Watchmen. Though Darkseid failed and had to retreat, he still kickstarted the film as an intimidating figure that was difficult to forget. Steppenwolf also looked more like his iteration from Batman v Superman, and he was to be a relative of Darkseid that was going to try and win back his favour after the crushing defeat that they suffered at the hands of Earth. He was far more complicated and an intimidating character that really put the fear into the League, instead of looking like a toy made out of marshmallow. Recently, Kieran Hines, who voiced the character, spoke of his disappointment with the final release and said, "That wasn't the movie I worked so hard on. We hope the director's cut comes out because it was better than the movie in the theatres." So it does seem like the original Steppenwolf would have been better than the one that we got, but he wasn't the only villain that was simplified in the end result. The mother boxes themselves were to take on a far more distinctive role, and they would be more like living entities rather than plot devices. The three boxes were meant to represent fear, alienation, and doubt. These are the main emotions which the planet was feeling at the time due to the death of Superman. This general despair over Earth helped to power them, and this was when we got the line from the trailer, "There's no protectors here, no lanterns, no Kryptonian." Steppenwolf was going to use these devices to overwhelm the planet, and this would set up the anti-life equation, which would pay off in later movies. The League was supposedly going to spend a lot more time in Star Labs, and this would be where one of the big action scenes would happen. In order to retrieve one of the mother boxes, Steppenwolf was going to show up and take it from them directly. Snyder has shown a lot of this action scene, and though we don't know for definite, it does look like Silas Stone was killed in the battle. So not only had Steppenwolf beaten them under Gotham Harbor, he had also beaten them in their base, killed one of their allies, and shown firsthand that he was a threat that needed to be taken seriously. Instead, we got him taking the mother box because the League had forgotten that they'd left it in a car park or something. His death was also meant to be a lot different. In the original cut, Wonder Woman beheaded the character as he was trying to escape in a boom tube. His head rolled out on the other end, and Darkseid stopped it with his foot and came face to face with the characters, starting their rivalry. The movie ended with Diana researching Darkseid, and it slowly put the pieces in place for him to become the big bad of the DC Universe. As mentioned earlier, Lex was going to feature more prominently, and instead of Batman searching for parademons on rooftops, he would actually learn from Lex's journal, which he collected in the prior movie. Jesse Eisenberg stated that many of his scenes were cut, and there are rumours that Batman at one point returned to Arkham to interrogate him. This would drive him to escape, and overall, he was far more fleshed out. Another character that was wholly underdeveloped was Cyborg. In the final cut, he received barely any setup and was pretty much just plunked into it. Victor Stone was originally a football star, and we got to see firsthand him playing a game for Gotham. Silas was meant to attend, but he was absent, and thus Victor was upset. In the car home with his mother, they got into an argument over his father putting work before him. The car crashed and Victor's mother died, and as we know, Victor himself was saved by his father and experimented on. It added a wealth of complexities to their relationship, and even in the final battle, Cyborg would be tormented by the ghosts of his parents, and also the human version of himself, which would make him realise what he'd lost. He would also have far more time discovering his powers, learning to fly, tapping into computer feeds, and deploying weapons, making for this film being an origin story for the character. The movie would have ended with Cyborg discovering a message for him left by his father before his death, and this would have been the closing monologue for the film, adding far more emotion to it. Flash 2 received a fleshed out backstory in which he saved Iris West from a car accident, and then chokeslammed her and threw her to the floor. Iris was completely removed from the film, and this not only set up her as a love interest for future movies, but it also showed Flash discovering his abilities. The changes weren't just in the visuals either, but in the soundtrack for the film itself. After collaborating with Hans Zimmer on Man of Steel and BVS, Junkie XL was going to be the composer for the film. So the epic score from Man of Steel and Batman v Superman would too be laced throughout this film. However, likely for tonal reasons, Warner Brothers appointed Danny Elfman to take over the reins of the project. Elfman had so little time to work on it that he had to bring back his Batman theme and the Christopher Reeve Superman one in order to get things done, and in the end, the score just really lacked the punches that the other entries in the DCEU had. Now, for things that were kept the same, but reshot. I don't think I even really need to tell anyone that Superman looks so weird in the film because they had to CGI out Henry Cavill's mustache due to his contract on Mission Impossible Fallout. It's really distracting, laughable, and it completely takes you out of the whole movie. Someone actually got paid to do this. However, the fact that the weird looking upper lip appears so much throughout the film showcases that pretty much all of Superman's scenes were reshot. This means that large chunks of dialogue were likely changed, as a lot of his moments in the film are just him standing around. He was also going to approach Alfred at one point, and he'd have a lot more lines of dialogue. In addition to all of this, Superman was going to be in his black costume, which is a nod to his resurrection in the comic books. With this suit not appearing in Justice League, it seems like we no longer have a proper opportunity to see him in the black suit, and it feels like a huge loss for die-hard DC fans. He wasn't the only one who got major reshoots either, as from side-by-side images of the original trailer and the eventual release, we can see that Bruce's initial talk with Aquaman was also changed quite a bit. When Arthur leaves Bruce standing, this moment was also redone, and look at the green screen that we got. Dear me, that is why you shoot on location. Aquaman 2 received a ton of extra screen time, and he had a large part of his backstory that involved Vulko long before he ever appeared in the solo film for the character. Mira was too going to appear at the end of the movie and call Arthur back to Atlantis, which would of course set things up going forward. The scene in which Lois visits the Superman Memorial in Heroes Park was going to feature more prominently, with Mark McClure, aka Jimmy Olsen, also appearing as a security guard. Olsen was going to say to Lois, "Hey, you don't miss a day, do you?" which showcased her grief. We would also end the film with a couple of major appearances too from some big DC heroes. Green Lantern would arrive on Earth after hearing of the attack on the planet, and it would be revealed that General Swanwick was actually Martian Manhunter. We'd only seen him in his human form the entire time, and this big twist and bombshell was going to recontextualize everything that we'd seen so far. Overall, it feels like the movie would have been a DC fan's dream, and it's a shame that we will likely never see it unless Warner Brothers finally decide to release it. There's enough support there, and I really think it could do wonders, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the changes, and if there's any others that should have made the list. I know this didn't include everything, so make sure you drop them in the comments section below. If you want something else to watch after this, then make sure you check out our full breakdown of Zack Snyder's original plan for the DCEU. We go over everything from Man of Steel all the way up to Justice League Part 3, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to know more. If you want to support the channel from as little as 99 cents a month, then please click the join button below. We massively appreciate it, and as a thank you get access to content early. If you want to come chat to us after the show, either follow us at DefinitionYT or click click the Discord link in the description below. Every month we give away free movies to people who subscribe to the channel, and this month you can win the Marvel Phase 3 Part 1 box set, and all you have to do is comment on a video and make sure you sub with notifications on. The more videos you comment on, the more you have a chance of winning, so please get involved. The winner is going to be chosen at random on the 15th of May, and the set will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. This is a channel for people who are super into superheroes, so if that's the kind of thing you like, hit subscribe. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I've been Definition, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.